Well, I gotta tell you, I got a lot of favorite songs on this April 17th, 1965. Billboard's Hot 100. Yes, the DJ's coming out of me. I gotta restrain myself a little bit. Gosh, dog it. Let's go to that Billboard's Hot 100, April 17th, 1965. Some of the familiar records on here that you probably know. Tired of Waiting for You by the Kinks. That was their third top 10. Nowhere to Run by Martha and the Vandellas. Go Now, opening hit single by the Moody Blues in 1965. The Birds, the Bees. The Last Time by the Rolling Stones. 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. Boy, the British Invasion, they are kicking it. So is Marvin Gaye and Motown. I'll Be Doggone at number 20. Do You Want to Dance? Yes, one of the best remakes by the Beach Boys. I believe Brian Wilson produced it. He emulated the Phil Spector Wall of Sound. It was a genius record. Bumblebee by the Searchers at number 22. Somebody else did that, I think back in the 50s. I'm going to try to get the name of that person. I believe it was a woman who did it back in the 50s. But Come and Stay With Me by Marianne Faithfull at number 26. Another British Invasion record. Oh, gosh, one of my favorite records. My favorite Righteous Brothers record. And no, I got to talk about this record somewhere down the road because nobody remembers it. Just once in my life. It was a runner-up to You Lost That Loving Feeling. Is there a soul out there who remembers that record? You never hear it on the oldie stations anymore. That's at number 31. Oh my goodness, up from 56. But let me get to the point of this video. What is the point? It's going to be all right by Gerry and the Pacemakers, jumping from 63 to number 43. Picture this. Just picture this. You're driving. Let's go back to the spring of 1965. You're listening to your favorite top 40 radio station. It might be WTBC here in Tuscaloosa. It might be WLS up in Chicago. You hear this song, It's Going to Be All Right. And you're thinking, oh man, that's a brand new record by the Beatles. And then the announcer comes on and says, well, that's Gerry and the Pacemakers. You're saying, what? Man, these guys, they sound like the Beatles. They're Beatles recording under another name. Well, they shared the same producer, George Martin. George Martin produced some of their biggest hits, Ferry Cross to Mercy by Gerry and the Pacemakers. And let's go to this Gerry and the Pacemakers. God, I love that guitar. It's going to be all right. It does sound like a Beatles record. It's going to be all right by Gerry and the Pacemakers. Jerry Marsden, lead singer, leader of the group, formed in 1959. Their first three singles in England went to number one. How Do You Do It? The absolutely rapture. How Do You Do It? Which was offered by the Beatles, but the Beatles turned it down, and George Martin had Gerry and the Pacemakers recorded. I Like It, also produced by Gerry, also produced by George Martin. I like it. Now, these songs will be re-released here in the States in 1964-65 as the British Invasion goes into warp drive. But and You Never Walk Alone went to number one in England. Here's the thing. Gerry and the Pacemakers were the first act in England to have three of their records, their first three records, go to number one in England. That feat would be 20 years before that record was broken. It was broken by Frankie Goes to Hollywood in the 80s. I think Two Tries was one of the songs, and also, of course, Relax. But let's go back to the 60s. And Mitch Murray wrote I Like It. He wrote How Do You Do It? Mitch Murray, a prolific songwriter in the 60s. With Peter Callender, he wrote Hitchin' a Ride. Summer of 1970 by Vanity Fair. Mitch Murray co-wrote the song Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde, done by Georgie Fame. You never hear that song on the oldie stations either. You don't hear this one by Gerry and the Pacemakers. Oh gosh, bear with me. It's getting late. I always forget the name of these records. Gerry and the Pacemakers. It's going to be all right. As a matter of fact, gosh dog it, I just noticed this. Ferry Cross to Mercy. All right, it's going to be all right. It's at 43. Guess what's at 44 and dropping? Ferry Cross to Mercy. Ferry Cross to Mercy, produced by George Martin. It was written. Now, it got to the point after they had their first three hits. They had a run of hits in England, and then they peaked out. But then Gerry Marsden started writing their material, including Ferry Cross to Mercy, and It's Going to Be All Right. He wrote that song as well by Gerry and the Pacemakers. Oh boy. On Billboard's Hot 100, though, for 8 weeks, it peaked at number 23. Lost 45 by Gerry and the Pacemakers. And here it is. It's gonna be alright. Gosh, that sounds so much like the Beatles.